So in this recording, we're actually going to explore the Node View and Node Edit plugins that Context Admin provides for us. This is actually going to allow us to kind of restructure the URLs of our nodes on the site in a really creative way. So let's talk about what we want to end up with. Typically, if you want to view a node, you end up looking at /node, %node. As we see right here. And if you want to edit that node, you end up at /node, %node, /edit. But what I want to do here is for a particular node type, in this case our news images, I want to actually move these two URLs completely. And so Context Admin is actually going to do that in conjunction with the HTTP request handler inside of Page Manager to really kind of do some really cool magic here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the setup for a second. By default, the node %node task that Page Manager provides us doesn't generally have any variants, but I've gone ahead and I've added a variant here, and you can see that it's only active on news images, and it's a 301 redirect. And so if we come in here and we actually look at this, you'll see I have a number of different options I could choose. I could choose a page not found, an access denied, or a redirect. Now I've chosen the redirect because I'm actually going to forward the user onto the new URL that we're going to construct. But you know, we could just as easily expect them to know where this stuff is and just 404 them for, you know, if they're kind of hunting around through the node paths. Quickly, you'll see that this is actually kind of a tokenized destination. And so what I've done here is we have two different nodes here. We have a %node nid and a %node 2 nid. And so if we come into contexts, you'll recall I said that this was for our news image. And our news image actually has a node reference back to the news article. And so we've loaded up the news article as a full context itself so that we can actually get away with doing what we want to do here. So let's get to it. We're going to create a new custom page. And we want it to be at node %node image %image, which is essentially what we saw earlier. But I'm going to go ahead and add a view onto that because we're going to end up needing a default menu tab, just like we've used in many other places. This is going to be a context admin type. What we're doing right now with the view you could easily do with panels, but just to keep it simple, I'm going to use context admin on this. We do want to see the access controls, and we do want to mess with the visible menu items. So now both of these items are actually nodes, so we're going to select node ID for both of them. And then we'll continue. Alright, so we want to do a number of things. The first thing we want to do is we only want to respond to this when the primary node ID is a news item. We also only want to respond to this when the secondary node ID, our image, is a news image. The other thing we want to do here is we are going to only respond to this when the user who's attempting to view has the rights to view the news node. So by doing this, they won't have the rights to view any news images unless they have the right to actually view the news node itself. And so this is actually kind of sort of like you're creating your own organic groups almost, except we're using Page Manager's access plugins to do so. And then the last thing we're going to do is I've provided a custom access handler within Context Admin for this particular use case. We're just going to go ahead and add that. And it actually consumes two different node contexts, and if we didn't do anything else right now, it would just compare these and see if they're equal. And if they were, it would return true, and if they weren't, it would return false. Obviously, in our case, these aren't going to be the same. And so where the magic really comes in here is it says, well, there are node types out there that have node references on them. So if we pick one of those, it then finds all the node reference fields that are available there and lets us pick one of those as well. Now what it's going to do is it's going to compare the referenced node to the first node. And actually this text here will tell you a little bit more about how that works. But the bottom line, the reason we're doing this is we don't want images that aren't associated with a particular article to be able to be shown on other news articles. We will go with the default menu tab. And we don't want any menu entry for this, for the parent item, because it's just going to be a menu callback. And now we're just going to tell it we want to view node. And we'll use the edit node one here in just a second, but this is just really simple, really straightforward, view node. And we tell it which node we want to view. We want to view the second one, the image. Hit finish, update and save. And now if we come in here, I should be able to come to node 1, image 3. And there we go, we can see image 3 here. And you'll see that it's related back to our test article. Now, if we come in here to find content real quickly, you'll see that I actually have a test article too. So, and it is node 4. So just to view that, we can hit edit and all of that stuff. And you'll see, node 4. So if I come in here and we type in node 4, image 3, we're going to get an access denied because, that image isn't actually related to that news article. Change it back to 1, and we see our image again. So this is pretty cool, but what would be even cooler is if we actually had an edit tab. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to edit our existing one here and go ahead and hit clone on it. And I'm going to change it to edit. And we'll clone the variants. Now we're going to need to do a couple things here. If I come into content, I'm going to need to tell it that I want to edit the node. So we'll update that. If we come into content settings, it's still saying node ID 2 because it's pulling that over. Our menu, we don't want a default menu tab, we just want a regular menu tab. And we're going to say edit, and I'll set the weight to like 5, update. And then within access, you'll remember we used the node access one here. So let's come back into that and say that they have the update permission for that node type. Hit save, and everything else should be good from here. So update and save. Great. So now if we'll go visit node 1 image 3, you'll see we have an edit tab here, which we can click, and it pops up and does all of this niceness for us. So that's pretty cool. So if I want to come in here and actually edit this and hit save, you'll see it's updated and it now says image 2, and we're still at node 1 image 3 because we're using that redirect. It sent us back here after it finished saving, although that would normally go to like node 3. The page manager redirect we set up sent us here. So this is a really cool way to kind of restructure your site into a more creative methodology. And as far as actually getting to these pages, back on the news article itself, we would want to end up using a panel or something and put a view in here of all of the image nodes related to this, and then just change their URLs so that they go to our new URL structure. Or in fact, we wouldn't even necessarily need to do that since those are going to forward automatically, though I probably would. Anyways, hopefully this has been informative and can help you do some really, really cool things with Context Admin.